Hello and welcome to World Values Day. Welcome to World Values Day. Thank you so much for choosing to invest in being a part of this special occasion. Before we officially kick off, I'd love to just hear from you in the chat. We'd love to get a little pulse check in the chat before we dive in. Why is it important for you to be here today? Why did you say yes to showing up? And what do you hope to feel as a result of being here? So let us know in the chat, why are you here today? And what do you hope to feel as a result of being here? Would love to know. Because I love you. I love you too, Phyllis. I loved reading what you wrote on who referred you. When you was like, my sister, I love her. That made me smile really big. Yeah. Yeah, and I'd love for you to think about, what about for yourself, right? Oh, there we go. Looking for a moment of peace and calmness, right? Today we're talking all about how to create micro habits in order to feel more grounded, more alive, more in your purpose, less overwhelmed, less stressed out, less burnt out, right? This is how we do. We can do that in these micro habits. It doesn't have to be blowing up your whole life. It can be little baby steps to get you where you want to go. All right, I'm seeing Shamika saying, I'm here to get more aligned in my top values. I really enjoy learning from you as well. Awesome. Thanks, Shamika. Nana say, because I want to be living in my values 24/7 and following yesterday's chat. We had a one-on-one yesterday. I need to use more micro habits. Yes, and a little tiny baby up level, Nana, because I know you can take it. You don't need to, you get to. You want to. You're looking forward to. We can remove that little tiny bit of judgment in the need. Yeah. All right. So Pam is saying, kindness is one of my big core values. I look to be more empowered to take care of me. Awesome. So I know a bunch of folks just joined since I have been speaking. In case you missed it, what we're doing to just kick things off for World Values Day today is to let us know in the chat, why is it important that you showed up today? What do you hope to feel leaving the workshop? That can be one word. Maybe you want to have empowerment, inspiration. Maybe you want to feel like you have clarity, right? Let's hear what those feelings are, because then we can get really clear on where you're heading today. How can you manifest more of those feelings? Just let us know in the chat. Alignment. Hey, Morgan. So happy to be here with you. Neil and Scott and Dawn and Pam and Jeff, Sherry, Shamika. So wonderful. So awesome to have you all here. Thank you for joining. Okay, yeah, alignment. I would hope that most people are here for alignment, because that's what we're going to be doing. We're really going to be focusing on how to get in alignment with your core values. And let me tell you that as someone who has coached hundreds of people all over the world in core values alignment, I have literally written a book on core values alignment in the workplace, how to create a values-driven culture. I have courses, I have one-on-one coaching, I work in groups, and let me tell you, it is very consistent that most people think in order to go from where they are today to where they want to be in alignment, they have to completely blow up their whole life and start all over again. They think that it's this huge, daunting, major task, and that often ignites a lot of avoidance, a lot of judgment, right? Like judging yourself for not doing it, a lot of victimhood, like I don't have time, I don't have energy, right? And so this session on World Values Day, as we celebrate across the globe, is really to remind you that you don't have to blow up your whole life and start all over. You don't have to wipe it all out and start over again to live in your values. You can do this in baby steps, one step at a time, without judgment of pace. I want to give you a couple of examples before we dive in to just set the tone for today. One is one of my coaching clients, somebody I've been coaching for a while now. To use that inner harmony and wellness for me to create a team. Morning routines are proven, they're scientifically proven to make such a difference in people's lives. And it's the kind of thing where a lot of people think, okay, I gotta do like a cold plunge and I gotta meditate for an hour and I gotta journal and I gotta do all these things, right? In order to be checking the boxes for a successful new morning routine. So she had normally woke up at 6 a.m. and she's like, I'm gonna wake up at 4 and I'm gonna start to do, all these different things to get me in alignment with this value. And while I think it's great to have motivation and to feel like you want to do something big, my intuition, and as a coach and somebody who's tried to do it that way many times, sort of said it's almost like you're setting yourself up for failure, right? A lot of times we set this bar super high, and then when we don't sustain that, we go, oh, I can't even do it. So maybe you could do the 4 a.m. for a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a month. But for that to be sustainable from being totally burnt out to now all of a sudden having an extra 2 hours in the morning to do this is not meeting yourself where you are. So I suggested to her, what if instead of 2 hours earlier, you just meet yourself where you are and you set your alarm for 5 minutes earlier. And in those 5 minutes, you choose one thing that's going to create that sense of wellness and inner harmony for yourself to activate that value, those values for you. Maybe that's journaling for 5 minutes. Maybe that's setting your intentions for the day. Maybe that's meditating for 5 minutes. But once you've actually mastered that, you've mastered those 5 minutes, then add another 5. Maybe then wake up 10 minutes earlier than that, right? So when we meet ourselves where we are with these micro habits, it is such a powerful way to set yourself up for success. And it's the kind of thing that if you miss it one day, no need for judgments like, oh, I got 5 minutes right now. I can just choose that right now, right? No need to feel like you failed in the process of wanting to live in alignment with your values. Does that make sense? Would love to just check in. Does that track for everyone? Anybody have questions about that before we dive into the actual content of our session today? On a personal note, for anybody who is new to me and James, my husband, James Highland, who you can see with the beautiful background, he's right next to me. We have been doing values work together and independently for, almost a decade now. Values were what helped me to uncover how I could actually shift into a place that was authentic to me. Because I don't know about you, but I was raised in an environment where I was domesticated to believe that I needed to have certain values. And if I didn't have those values, I was punished for it, right? So like social recognition, success, wealth, those were things that were really driven into me as the measure of success. And so I was living my life for so long wanting to fulfill those values, crunching it out, hustling it out, muscling it out in a way that I didn't even realize wasn't for myself. It was for the people who had raised me and wanting to make them proud, wanting to make them love me instead of what would it be like to love myself? What would it be like to make myself proud, right? What does that feel like? Because that's what's so amazing about core values and why I love being a part of World Values Day every year, is because when we can actually know what our authentic core values, we can shed away the programming of people who domesticated us, and we can just embrace, like, who am I actually, right? What actually gets me motivated? What actually gives me energy? It's a complete game changer because you're no longer being driven by approval from others. You're being driven by the energy within yourself. When you live in your values, you naturally feel like you are getting rejuvenated. You feel energy coming back into your life because it feels good, right? It feels good. And when you're violating your values, it sucks, right? It sucks the life out of you. It drains you. It makes you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I'm doing this all for. Can anyone relate to that? Can anybody relate to that experience? Would love to make this as interactive as possible today. Feel free to use the chat at all points. We will have a formal Q&A, and I'll stop and invite people to bring their voices forward throughout. But please know that the chat is something we love. We love seeing your reactions come through. It helps me to understand what's resonating, where you might have questions. So let's make this as interactive as possible today. Yeah, so I'm seeing Shamika saying, I thought waking 30 minutes earlier would be considered taking it slow. I would never have thought of just doing 5 is making progress. That's very powerful because I always go big and then give up. Shamika, what a powerful testimony. You represent hundreds of thousands of people. Me too. I'm like, I'm gonna, do this whole thing different now and it's gonna be the best, right? And then you're like, oh, well, actually, I could only sustain that for a few days. And then I felt like I was judging myself nonstop because I couldn't do it. And then I was failure. Versus, no, what's the lowest minimum standard you want to set for yourself? And how could I do that in 1 to 5 minute increments so that it's very, very easy to feel like you're setting up yourself for success? Does that make sense? For everyone? And then I'm way. So, for example, unity with nature is my number 1 core value. And oftentimes people put in their values profile that unity with nature doesn't resonate with them. And then when I talk to them about it, right, if I'm working with them one-on-one or in a workshop, talk to me about that. They'll say, well, I don't go hiking every weekend and I don't go camping and I don't have a bunch of pets and that's just not my jam. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting because I define unity with nature as gaining wisdom and inspiration from the earth, right? From nature. And so they were like, oh, well, if that's the definition, then I would say, yeah, that is something that I value, right? And so kind of going to what Jeff is saying here in the chat, it might just be a shift in the way you describe what it means. And guess what? The thing that is so beautiful about values work is you get to make it whatever you want it to be. You do. There is nobody grading you for this. There is nobody who's checking to make sure you're doing it right. The only one who can do that is your own self, your own heart, your own soul. Because you know when you're living in alignment with your value because life feels good. And you know when you're violating your values because it doesn't. It is that simple and that complex. And that's what we're going to dive into today. I am the kind of person who just loves micro habits. You may have noticed I'm talking to you in a very small space. We are in the mountains of Idaho in our 200 square foot tiny home. We moved out here from Baltimore City this year full time. And this was something that, believe it or not, started from micro habits, micro changes. This was not like, oh, we're just going to do it. Now it just happened. It was something that we did micro habits around for 5 years, 5 years of building up. And so it was the kind of thing that was like, okay, if I want to be a cowgirl, what's my micro habit that I can put in today to get me closer to that? Maybe it's watching a video. Maybe it's showing up to a lesson, right? That's a bigger investment of time, right? But what are the things that I can start doing now to get me closer to where I want to be? This year's theme is for World Values Day is all about your future values. And the way that I chose to interpret that was really around what is it that your future self wants? Right? What does your future self desire? What does your heart desire? That's not currently in the present moment, but that's okay. That's no problem. No need to judge that. It's a beautiful thing to be able to know where is it that I want to go? And then how can I create a micro habit to get there? No judgment required. Sound good? All right, I'm just seeing Nana saying oh, it sounds like you're really related to my example there. The unity with nature doesn't resonate. However, happy to be by the sea and the beach, listening to waves crash on the sand. Maybe I need to rethink that one. Yeah. So there's going to be lots of opportunities. And look, here's the deal. If that's not the thing that you wake up in the morning and go, heck I can't wait to be by the beach, right? Or at the sea. You don't even need to revisit it because it's not your driving core value, right? So just know that you don't need to know every single thing perfectly. Just think about, and we're going to do this in exercises today, thinking about what it is that actually makes me feel that like I want to wake up and do this today. I'm really excited about that. All right, so I'm going to ask James to put in the chat the core values quiz, the link to the quiz in case you didn't take the quiz. You don't need to take the quiz in order to do the exercises today. However, it will make it probably more interesting for you. So whether you decide to do that right now and get your results, they pretty much show up, they get emailed to you pretty much immediately. You can decide, or if it's something you want to come back to later, you will be able to do that as well. So do whatever is going to serve you best. Know that it's not going to be an issue whether or not you do it now or later if you haven't yet. But if you have it, go ahead and grab your values profile. And we're going to jump into our first exercise. So we're going to have 3 exercises. The first is going to be to identify what is that gap between where you are now and where you want to go, right? What is that, whether it's a specific thing, like I mentioned, like a morning routine, or if it's something kind of a little more intangible, like the way you talk to yourself, right? You can decide what feels like would make the biggest shift if I put intentional energy towards that change, okay? So I'm going to invite you, if you don't already, to grab a piece of paper, a pen and pencil, and I want you to ask yourself this question. What is the gap between where I am and where I want to be? Right? What do I want that's different? And here's another way you can look at it. If you get your values profile out, you might say, I really want to activate that value of curiosity more, that core value. Or if you're like, I don't even know what the value is around it, that's okay, we're going to get there. You can simply say, I don't want to be frustrated every day. Right? Meet yourself where you are and what naturally comes up. And what I'm going to invite you to do is actually share it in the chat so we can see what commonalities we have within the group. And then I'll start to customize our experience today based on that. So I want you, like I said, I want you to think about your life right now. Maybe it's in the last 24 hours. Maybe it's in the last week. Maybe you want to think about the month or the year, you decide. And then ask yourself, what is that gap? Where did my actions not reflect my values? Okay. James just put it in the chat. We're going to give you a few minutes here to reflect on your own. If that's confusing to you, you don't know what I mean by that, don't hold back. Let me know what your questions are. Let us know in the chat and we'll make sure that you are good to go. But we are going to invest the next 3 minutes in writing down, thinking about, investing in, what is that gap, right? Where do you want to be that you're not currently? Something that's not reflecting your values. Once you have your answer, let us know in the chat. You can just say guide, or you can actually tell us what it is if you feel comfortable sharing it. Jeff's saying getting distracted by all the things instead of just being quiet with myself. Nana's saying want to be more honest with myself and not judge myself for the honesty. Okay. So Jeff, I don't know if this is what it is for you. You're the only one who knows, but perhaps that's inner harmony. Perhaps that's connection, the value. Nana, it sounds like honesty is a part of the value associated to what you're sharing. Maybe it's connection. Maybe self-love, yeah. I've allowed myself to be affected by all the crazy, allowing anger and anxiety to take over sometimes. Okay, so wanting to have more inner harmony, perhaps, Phyllis. Maybe it's well-being or inner harmony is the value there that you want to bring in more of. Katrina's saying, allowing someone else to take advantage of my generosity and not calling it out, just letting it bother me. Yeah, it really can be quite painful, right? When we just hold it in and think people should read our minds versus setting boundaries with our voices. I can understand that. And perhaps that's also inner harmony. Maybe that's connection. Maybe that's self-respect, right? Scott saying, fell short of prioritizing values over life events. Okay. Well, sometimes you got to give yourself some grace and permission to be human too, Scott. So tune in with yourself on giving yourself permission to be human on what the life events are. Sometimes, we gotta have these moments of survival, and then it's the time to reset. So I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, Nina saying honest and connection are my core values. I heard James talk about self-love. Definitely need self-love more. Yeah, I think we all could use some more self-love for sure. All right, does anybody else need more time? Anybody else ready to share? Pam saying mine is inner harmony and honesty. I took off a few hours for an appointment and my boss called and then said she forgot I asked for the time, but could I just answer a couple questions? Okay, yeah. And so that's kind of similar, right, to what we were hearing earlier in the chat from, who was it? Katrina, right? Sort of feeling taken advantage of. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Shamika. Thanks for sharing. I was like, wait, you're done. You're done with the exercise. I got it. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, beautiful. So what I love to do, given that it seems like most people have their area, they've identified their area, is we're going to go into a quick guided meditation / visualization. I want to check in the chat real quick before I do that. Do you meditate? Are you somebody who does visualizations? Yes, no. Would love to know if this is new for you or if this is something you're used to, because I will adjust my facilitation accordingly. Just let me know in the chat. Do you meditate? Do you visualize? Are you familiar with this as a concept? I want to make sure everybody is met where they are, in theme with these micro habits. Everybody meets you exactly where you are. Okay. More prayer than meditation. Prayer is absolutely a form of meditation. I love that you brought that up, Phyllis. Yeah, going within and connecting to the divine. I do not meditate. Okay, Scott, thank you. All right, so here's the deal with meditation. Every time you meditate, you act as if it's your first time. So Scott, you are in the perfect room because we are all doing this practice for the first time together. Yeah. We're all doing this practice for the first time together. And let me say this. Some people immediately get visuals. Some people immediately feel like, the answer just came through. I got this download, right? And other people don't. And it goes into an immediate self-judgment of like, I did it wrong. What's wrong with me? So once again, I just want to create a disclaimer. Whatever comes forward for you today is perfect. No judgment required. You don't have to follow my prompts exactly. You can allow your mind to take you to what's serving you best and see, quote unquote. I'm going to invite you to see through visualization. But maybe the way that you see is actually from thoughts, not a visual. So don't allow any certain words to take you away from thinking you're doing the practice correctly. I want you to simply meet yourself where you are. And we are going to go on a little journey to see what your future self a month from now, who has done all of these micro habits, what message do they have for you, right? What wisdom is there for you? And so I'm going to guide you through that. It's going to be 5 minutes or less. So once again, if you don't have something to write on and write with, now is your time to grab that, because I want you to be able to go straight pen to paper to really honor and celebrate what came up for you. All right? So let's go ahead and Roll your neck, your shoulders, your wrists, your ankles. Maybe give yourself a little twist. Do whatever feels good in your body. When you feel ready, you can come to stillness, closing your eyes or gazing down, and bringing your awareness to your breath. Breathing in and out through your nose, sending your breath down to your belly, really allowing yourself to feel that air moving in and down to your belly. A slowing down, tuning in, and giving yourself permission to be here now. With each breath in, breathe in peace. And with each breath out, breathe out stress. So elongating that breath to whatever feels good to you. And softening in your body. Softening in your forehead, around your eyes, your jaw, your neck. Dropping your shoulders. Just releasing any tension in your arms, your torso, your seat, your legs. Moving all the way down to your feet. Allowing yourself to really be here now, tuning in with your body, reminding yourself that your values live in your heart. You're the keeper of your soul. And they allow you to tune in to what is in your highest and greatest good. And I invite you now, without judgment, but just from a place of curiosity and observation, to visualize yourself 1 month from now. You have done every single micro practice that you intended to. Your values are firing on all cylinders. And you are feeling like, yes, I'm really doing it now. I'm in alignment, I'm in flow, and life is feeling good. I invite you to visualize that version of yourself right here, right now. Almost like you were watching a movie, seeing yourself 30 days from now, celebrating and excited about everything you have done by just taking a baby step, 1 step at a time without judgment of pace. I want you to just notice how your future self feels. In your body, in your mind, in your spirit. How are they carrying themselves? On your next in-breath, you can bring your hand to your heart space if it feels good, really connecting with your heart, this keeper of your values, feeling that connection. And through your heart, through this visual of yourself, really living in alignment, I want you to now ask your heart, what wisdom do you have for me so that I can live this life the way I desire? What is one small change, one micro habit that I can meet myself where I am to get to this pure alignment? Once you feel you have your answer, you can bow your head ever so slightly towards your heart and just say thank you. Thank you for this wisdom, this message, this this information on how I can lovingly meet myself where I am and take one step at a time without judgment of pace towards my highest and greatest good. What a gift. And taking another big breath in and out. And at the sound of the chime, I invite you to slowly bring yourself back into the room. All right, beautiful. Now I want you to go straight pen to paper with what came up for you. Did you get a message from your future self? Did you get any information on what would serve you best in stepping into that next possibility in alignment? And if you didn't, no judgment needed. You can think about it right now. What would be in your highest and greatest good? What might that micro habit look like? What might that look like to get from where you are now to where you want to be in full alignment with your values? Would love to know. I'm just going to invest a couple minutes to write that down for yourself. And when you're ready, let us know in the chat. I know a couple folks just joined us. If you're just joining, know that you're going to get the replay, so you can always go back and watch the beginning exercises from today. But what we're doing right now is we have identified the area of our life where we want to narrow the gap between where you want to be and where you are. And then we did a visualization on what is that micro habit? You know, what's that baby step that you can take to get closer to that possibility? So if you want to ponder on that, you can get yourself up to speed with the rest of the group here. Saying future self says, learn to love myself, speaking lovingly to myself, not being harsh or judgy. Yeah, I love that. Such a beautiful continuation of our conversation. Katrina saying, run off the frustration. Use this time coming into spring to feel refreshed and manifest a new start. I love that, Katrina. Katrina, you gave me a great example that I'm going to use coming up in a moment, building off what you're sharing here. All right, if you're still writing, keep writing. We are going to make sure we get everything covered in this hour, so I know I'm moving at a relatively swift pace. No, like I said, you're going to get the replay. You can watch it at whatever speed you want moving forward from today, but really want this to be simple, right? Don't want this to be overcomplicated, some kind of strategic plan that you need to put together. No need for that. What is the simplest way to meet yourself where you are? Yeah. Always be authentic and take the time necessary, not allowing others to force me to go at their pace. So important. Boundaries. Yeah, boundaries is pretty much always the answer. Boundaries are always the answer, and they start with yourself. That's one of the biggest misunderstandings. All right. Does anybody have a question or an example they want to share to get either just be seen and heard and, validated in what it is you're moving forward with. Or maybe you're like, I don't actually know what that micro habit is, and I'd like some support with figuring out what that would look like. Would love to invite, anyone can raise their virtual hand who would like to bring their voice forward, or your physical hand if you have your camera on. But would love to invite any voices forward who would like to either share or get support, celebrate or get support. Shamika is saying, my future self said to journal about my wins each day or week. My wins will help me seek internal validation instead of external. So beautiful, Shamika. I love that. We actually have a community, a group coaching community called the Community of Alignment. And once a month, we do a manifestation ceremony on the full moon. And that is the practice leading up to it. It's either once a day or once a week to the best of your ability, writing down all your wins so that you can actually feel all the goodness instead of our human negativity bias that takes us into focusing on what's not the way we want it to be. What needs to change, what needs to be different. All right, since I haven't seen anybody raise their hand, I'm going to go ahead and use the example that I got sent to me earlier. And so we can kind of parse through what would a micro practice for this look like, because that's what this is all about. It's micro practices. So for example, Phyllis saying, always be authentic and take the time necessary, not allowing others to force me to go at their own pace. Well, what's the micro practice around that? Right? So that's beautiful. I love that. But what is the baby step that you can meet yourself where you are right now? So I'll give you an example of what a baby step might look like for that, right? Always be authentic and take the time necessary. Maybe your micro practice, Phyllis, is that throughout the day, you do a 1-minute check-in. Maybe you do it in the morning, at lunch, and when you get home, on asking your heart, what do I need to do now to be authentic and to prioritize the time that I need? See how that's a micro practice? Doesn't have to be a whole blowing up of your daily schedule. It can be a 1-minute check-in that you do 3 times a day. Or maybe it's a 1-minute check-in you do just when you wake up in the morning. Or maybe it's a debrief you do with yourself at the end of the day. Right? So you can really start to put energy into changing this versus, well, yeah, that was my intention, but I didn't actually know what to do to make that intention a reality. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. I see your head nodding, Phyllis. All right, so here is the example that I was emailed in advance. So I always appreciate that when people ask for sharing in advance. So this is what I got. The one small thing that I'd like to change is my sense of frustration with people when they become dependent on my support. I am a public servant, and when I provide professional help and support to community groups and organizations as a volunteer, I sometimes have to fall out with them to get them to stop emotionally lobbying me for more support. It makes the original work I do for them feel worthless. I know that it's my issue or the way I'm handling it, so I'd like to know if there's a small change that I can make to overcome that issue, as it might help me and support more people with feeling the trepidation. I do find myself saying, no, I can't help you because I feel like I like you and I don't want to lose you as my friend. Okay, so that's like a pretty big story about what's going on, right? So yours might not be that specific of an example, but basically if I were to whittle that down, I bet we can all relate to this, right? It's almost like not knowing the line between generosity and feeling taken advantage of, right? Feeling like you're being drained. Is that fair? Is that fair? I'd love to know if that is fair and how I just summarized that. If it doesn't feel like that's what you were asking for, let me know, because I want to make sure I'm addressing it directly. So if that's your micro habit, let's first identify the value. All right, thanks, Katrina. Let's first identify the value. What's the value, the core value? Katrina, you can actually unmute yourself and speak if you'd like. If you don't want to, that's okay too. You can use the chat. But would love to know, like, what's the core value you want to have? Is it inner harmony? Is it connection? Is it self-respect? Is it something completely different than that? I can't unmute. Okay. James, can you unmute her, please? Okay, he said he just did.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for being here and for sharing that in advance. So, Katrina, what core value do you think is missing in that experience? What is being violated for you there?
Um, I think it's a sense of worth. I think that there is an element of self-love. As a as a public servant, I'm moving from I'm considering standing as a politician, which actually amplifies the amount of people who are going to ask me for help.
Oh, yeah.
And it eats into everything that I do. It's a massive compliment when you know that you can make such a big impact on people, but when it starts draining you completely, it can be quite frustrating, and it's also quite frustrating because you want to help everyone in the world, and it's very difficult to choose who to help and who not to help. And it can change friendships and relationships very quickly because there's a lot of people in need at the moment. So, um, what it feels like and the situation is at the moment, I have to be busy in order to say no, which
Mm,
means that I I have to feign busyness that doesn't feel like I'm being my authentic self.
yeah.
I can't, I feel terrible. I would feel bad to say, actually, I just want to have lunch with my husband and I can't help you today. And I get, yes, but there are people who can't feed themselves and we need help putting together a campaign to be able to pitch for money, to be able to, you could help that. But you go and have lunch with your husband. Um, and that's the reality of where I'm sitting at the moment. And I can just see that going into next year, I can just see that amplifying.
Yeah, especially if you want to really take on and like extend, right? Being really more in the public space that way by taking a role that would be your job, right? And so this is a perfect time to be having this conversation with yourself. First of all, amazing self-awareness. Congratulations in having the self-awareness. I think a lot of times we humans feel really frustrated about things and we become victims of that situation. But what you said to me when you emailed me was like, I know I can change this. I know a lot of this is my own reaction. So, first of all, let's all just take ownership. That's like the best way to make this micro habit. No victimhood, no judgment required, just ownership. There is another way. I am figuring that out right now, right? I'm figuring it out. I'm getting so much good information about what drains me so that I can learn what boundaries I need, what micro habits I can put in place
Mhm.
so that I actually feel filled, right? And so that you obviously love doing this work or you wouldn't be thinking about going further with it, right? It's obviously something that reflects your values. And so it's like, what are the boundaries? There can often be like a boundaries rub, right? Or a the shadow of your values, right? And where it feels like, oh, well, I really have this value of connection and empathy, but I have my limits, right? I have my limits of what I can do when it comes to that. And so what you said, self-respect, self-love, what feels the strongest for you of the values that you mentioned? Does one come forward?
I'd say self-respect, but it's not because I respect others more than me or I don't respect myself. It's because I know I'm effective. I know I'm good at my job. And that's not overconfidence. I know that I can do things in half the time that other people can, and I know that I can get I can get things done faster. Um, I just put the issue before myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I put the issue. So it's not that I'm not saying Jennifer needs my help and it's Jennifer that's asking. And it's like I'm not being human specific about it.
Yeah.
It's I can make a difference to this issue that can help a whole community.
Yeah.
So I end up kind of saying I'm one small human and I can make a difference, or I can be selfish.
Yeah. And so
Um,
that's the limiting belief, right?
yeah,
So you just said it. You just caught the limiting belief. The thing that is keeping you trapped in this cycle is you judging yourself and telling yourself that you're being selfish if you have lunch with your husband, right? Or whatever
yeah.
it might be. Do something
My
that
husband
prioritize.
doesn't believe that. My husband doesn't believe that. My husband thinks that lunch with him is a great idea.
Yeah, so your own belief, right? Your own limiting
Yeah.
belief around it, right? Is like I can't have lunch with my husband because this person needs my help. And if I do have lunch with my husband, that means I'm selfish. So there's the invitation for your micro habit. Okay. So this is an opportunity for you to notice every single time that you tell yourself, this is selfish of me to fill in the blank, right? Like go to bed on time or have my weekend to myself. Notice every time you say that to yourself, okay? And
Yeah.
then forgive yourself for having that thought.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself. Step 1 is notice. Step 2 is forgive yourself. Step 3 is choose again. So what is an abundant, expansive belief that you can replace it with? So I'm being selfish pops up. You go, oh, I notice that I'm telling myself I'm being selfish. You forgive yourself for talking to yourself that way. And then you choose again. So maybe an abundant thought that you can replace it with is, going to lunch with my husband is how I respect myself and give more to others by rejuvenating my energy. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not. Shamika is right. You have to come up with a reason for saying no. This isn't important to you. The challenge that I've got is, that if I expose myself in that way to people who I'm trying to, and I say, listen, I need to go. I need to have some time for myself, to rejuvenate myself and what have you. Then I get an onslaught of, oh, you're stressed, you're not coping.
You don't
Oh,
need to give people
are
any of
you
those details, Katrina. So let me just give you
okay?
permission right now. You never have to tell anybody why you're not available. That's a boundary with yourself. This was me too. I used to
Right.
think I had to tell a big story of all the things I have going on, and therefore I was worthy of not being available. And then I learned
Yeah.
that I could simply say, I'm not available for that. Let me connect you to someone who might be. Or here are some resources that might be able to be
Yeah.
supportive in the meantime. Or if it's the kind of thing that you wind up being in public, a public servant in a bigger way, maybe you actually wind up creating a resource space where you're just refer people to a link of where they go to see where all those resources are. And so
Yeah.
being able to say, even saying, thank you for asking me for this. I have another conflict at that time, right? If they're inviting you to a specific event, right? Or something that unfortunately, I have a conflict at that time. You do not have to give them the details. You do
Yeah.
not have to give them the details. That's the biggest. So maybe that's meeting yourself where you are, Katrina. So thank you for
Yeah.
giving that, reminding me of that was the bigger piece for you. So how does it feel like to you to make your micro habit learning the phrase, let me connect you to someone who can help you with that, or
Well,
I don't have,
first of all,
I'm not
I
available
like
at that time.
I like Phyllis's. I feel like Phyllis's answer. No is a complete sentence. I'm down with that, and I
Yes,
like the less is
and
more.
if you feel the need to tell people a whole story, no is not probably meeting you where you are. So if someone to reach
Yeah.
out to you and say, Katrina, I really need your help with this, for you to just write back and say no, does not sound to me like it's meeting you where you are.
It's also New Zealand. I'm in New Zealand. I'm on the other side of the world. And it's a small place. So everyone knows each other and everyone knows where you are. So if I go out for lunch with my husband, I guarantee you my entire community know where I am.
Well,
Um,
you didn't lie. You said I have another commitment at that time.
yeah. So there is that element of being in the spotlight, where being a public servant, where I've always been behind the scenes, is something that is, you know, um, has protected me from that as well. But yeah, that taking that step out and knowing that everyone's going to know my business is daunting.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, I
meet
think giving
yourself,
myself
find
permission
those
to,
phrases. Yeah, find those
yeah,
phrases that feel good. And maybe no is, but as somebody who went on that journey, saying no was not the baby step. That
was
was
not.
like after feeling total mastery in my boundaries that I could say nope, right? Versus thanks for reaching out. Unfortunately, I have another commitment at that time,
Yeah,
right? You can decide and you can play with the no too. You can play with that. Maybe the no is for people you feel really safe with, like your husband. You can
yeah,
practice there. So that's what baby steps and micro habits are all about. It's like, okay, if this is a huge issue, maybe start practicing with your partner. right?
Yeah.
Maybe start practicing with your
Yeah.
friends, seeing how that goes, build up the evidence that you can do this, and then start applying it in other places. You don't have to do it all at once. It's my reminder to you. And
Thank
Katrina,
you.
on a personal note, I don't know if you know the Wilson sisters that are out of New Zealand, the people who work with the Kamanawas, but I was
Yeah.
trained by Kelly Wilson last summer on taming wild Mustangs here in the U.S. She came over from New Zealand, so
Wow.
just have to put that little New Zealand, like love New Zealand, such great humans there.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. It's my home. I found myself and realized I was standing on the right ground when I got here, and I never went back to the UK. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful. There you go. That means that place is in alignment with your values. That's a
Yeah.
physical space. Kind of like how I left
Yeah.
Baltimore City to be in the mountains. It's so much more in alignment with my values. It feels better. You feel like you're home, right? You feel that energy. So,
Yeah.
just
This
another
is this is
example.
my background. I'm
Gorgeous.
in the middle of the bush. Yeah.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Well, thank you so much, Katrina. I appreciate the example, and don't hesitate if anything else comes up. You can always email me.
Thank you.
Let me know how it's going, and would love to celebrate you on your journey.
Thank you. And thank you, Shamika and Phyllis as well. I appreciate your input. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Really appreciate it. All right. Beautiful. Okay. So here's my question. What is your micro habit? What is your micro habit? Write it down. Put it in the chat. I want to hear, what is the micro habit? What is the baby step? What's that 1 minute check-in we can do? What's the new phrase you're going to test out? Like Katrina was just being coached around. What is the, 2 minute morning practice you're going to do? What is it? I would love to know so we can celebrate. What is your micro practice? And if you want support with your micro practice, no problem. You can ask that question. And if we don't have time to go over it now, you can email me as well. So I just want to, that's my gift. This is World Values Day. I always gift an experience every year. So I want you to feel like you had what you came for today. You really are like, all right, I know exactly what I'm doing, or maybe a little bit of what I'm going to do, and I'm going to test it out. What is your micro practice? What's the micro practice of what you are going to do? All right, Morgan's saying waking up 30 minutes earlier to give myself me time and start the morning more aligned with intention, which means better bedtime routines. Beautiful. Love it. Phyllis's morning micro practice is taking that for me 60 seconds you suggested. Yeah, you can even put it in your calendar if that makes it feel more like serious and you're going to take it because it's in there, right? It's something you've committed to. What other micro practices are you going to commit to? Would love to hear from you in the chat. Would love to hear from you in the chat. What micro practice? Breath work in the morning after rising. Beautiful, Sherry. I love that. Yeah, and it can be 1 minute, right? Sometimes it's like, oh, I actually have the capacity and energy for a 20-minute practice. And other times it's like, I'm just going to breathe. I'm going to do 1 round of box breathing, right? Or whatever it might be. That's your favorite breathwork practice. It's a beautiful thing. Nina saying, forgive myself when I'm harsh to myself, right? So micro practice throughout the day, right? Of just like, oh, I noticed I was harsh on myself. Now I forgive myself for that. That's a rewiring. That's a whole rewiring. Beautiful. All right. Well, I want you to leave today remembering you do not need to blow up your life and push the whole reset button in order to be in alignment with your values if you don't currently feel like you are. What the invitation is to meet yourself exactly where you are right now. Be loving, be kind, be compassionate, give yourself that permission to be human, and then ask your heart, what's the baby step, right? What's the baby step? Maybe it's just noticing that I'm doing it. Maybe that's the baby step. Maybe it's, talking to yourself a little bit differently, giving yourself permission. Maybe it's an actual action, right? Around like, okay, 3 times a week, I am going to prioritize 2 minutes of ensuring that I'm checking in with my values alignment. You get to decide, right? Katrina saying, be more aware of what I'm saying yes to. Ask if I need to do this, or this is just filling space in my diary. And if I don't need to do it, how do I say that in the lightest, most minimal way, which doesn't feel defensive? Yeah, no story required. No needing to rationalize why you're not available. That is something I think, especially as women, we think that we need to, we earn the time that we're not available, versus like protecting that time is what everybody deserves in order to have a full battery and energy to support those around us. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, so it wouldn't be World Values Day if we didn't have something really special to offer you to keep you going in these practices. We actually have quite a few members of our Daily Spark here right now. So if anybody wants to, from the Daily Spark, to share your experience in the chat, I would welcome that. One of the things we want to offer anybody who's not currently a part of our Daily Spark is a really special offer today. So it is always $10 a month, cancel at any time. This is a 2 to 3 minute practice that gets emailed directly to your inbox every single morning. And that is a micro habit specifically to support you in living in alignment with your values. 365 of them. So if you were like, I want to check that out, or I got $10 worth of value today, I'm going to go ahead and invest in that. James is going to put the link in the chat so that you can go ahead and do that now. And the special that we have for World Values Day today is that if you are like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this. I wanted something to meet me where I am. I remember, Shamika, when you emailed me, you're like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for something like this. I need this in my life, right? And you're like, I just want to go all the way. If you sign up for a year, which is $100, you are also, in addition to getting my course, Becoming an Island of Peace in the Sea of Chaos. But the bonus for World Values Day is you get a one-on-one private energy session with James. James is certified in the emotion code, the body code, and the belief code, and he will support you. Nena just had one of these sessions yesterday. He will support you in releasing trapped emotions in your body. So that is something that's normally $50 just itself. So that is our special World Values Day offer for anybody who has never done the Daily Spark before and is like, I really want to do this. For those of you who are already Daily Spark members, which I'm loving seeing in the chat some of these beautiful support for what it's done for you. Actually, I'm going to read them really quick. So Daily Spark affirmations are the one, sets me up for the day nicely. Daily Spark affirmations are one of the first things I do when I wake up each morning. They set a positive tone for the rest of the day. I love the Daily Spark. It's a short daily mindfulness practice. It's about 2 to 3 minutes on weekdays and it's easy to do. Yeah, and Nena's just saying, and James's energy sessions are amazing. I'm waiting to sign up for a package of his sessions. Yeah, so cool. So if you're like, you know what, I want a micro habit and I don't know what it is, or I want to build on this concept, $10. Come on, you got this. You can do this on the Daily Spark, and you'll get that sent straight to your inbox every single morning, and you can cancel at any time. If you want to go all the way, you can invest and get that special offer to have James's energy session if you sign up for a year. Now, if you're already a member, we just did this. We've been doing this sort of on the side and not having it as an official offer, but we were like, you know what, let's do this for World Values Day for all of our current Daily Spark members. If you want a custom track, your specific limiting belief. So like Katrina, thinking about what you said, if you want a custom track around saying no that you can listen to anytime you want, that has your name in it if you want, that has specific affirmations that are going to respond to what's going on in your life to help you with that rewiring, reprogramming, creating that micro habit for yourself. We normally have that as a $250 custom thing that you can have, and then you have lifetime access to it. It's totally yours to own. You can do whatever you want with it. We're doing that offer today for $50. So if you want to have a custom practice, it's only $50 today, and you just need to type the code WVD, World Values Day, in the coupon section, and it's going to take $200 off immediately. So if you're like, I want a micro practice, I'm not exactly sure what that is, this is where we can make something custom just for you. So those are my offers, my special, we always do special things, special invitations for World Values Day. We're offering 5. We can't offer this rate for every single person who wants to have that custom track, but for the first 5 people who sign up, we are so excited to be able to get that over to you and have something that you can create in your day-to-day experience that you can use on demand however you want. All right, having said all that, I want to close out with one word or a short phrase in the chat. How are you feeling now? How are you feeling now? We talked in the beginning about how you wanted to feel coming. How are you feeling now? Would love to know in the chat. After going through this micro practice, micro habits workshop today, how are you feeling? And this is not a test. You can feel however you want. That's perfect. Katrina's saying awake. Love that. I'm also feeling awake. Empowered. Beautiful. What else? How are you feeling now? As we close out, Shamika's excited. Keep those words coming. Know that I am happy to stick around for another 15 minutes or so for anybody who may have additional questions. We are going to make sure that we end on time and respect everyone's time. It's one of my core values. I find that to be all about respect. But if anybody has any lingering questions, I'm going to stick around for the next 15 minutes. Should you want some additional guidance or support. I'm seeing Sherry saying released fear and feeling empowered. Awesome. Pam saying amazing. Such a great hour of time with you. Wonderful. Just signed up for the guided practice. Awesome, Nana. You're doing it, girlfriend. Is the world value code the same for the $100 with energy work? It's not. And Nana, we'll reach out to you separately because that's associated to, or Shamika, we'll reach out to you separately because that is for people who aren't currently members. But if you want to change, I don't know what membership you have. I know you're a member. I don't know if you have the month or the year, but we can always change it to the 100 and then you would get the energy work. Yes. Great question. You can either ask me about it now or we can connect. I have the monthly membership. Okay, yeah, great. Shamika, sign up for a year and you'll get that. That'll be all set for you. And we'll make sure we stop the other, monthly payment. Yeah, you're so welcome, Katrina. Know that we are so happy that you decided to be a part of World Values Day with us today. This is so near and dear to my heart. It's really amazing to know people all over the world are coming together in celebration and honoring their values and getting closer to that future self, where you want to be. So please let us know if you have any other remaining questions, any thoughts. We're here. I'm going to stick around for the next 10 minutes or so. Should anybody else want support like Katrina got or otherwise, know that we're here for that. If it's time for you to go, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. Hope to see you in the Daily Spark community. One of the things I neglected to mention is that in addition to getting those 2 to 3 minute guided practices, you also have the first of each month we come together in a live session on our ranch with our horses as our co-facilitators, our energy workers, in spreading good energy into doing that values alignment. Thank you, Morgan. Yeah, you're welcome, Sherry. All right, my friend.